Pace has dropped on a new week of soccer down here. How was your weekend? Oh, I think it's going to be one of those shows. And I mean it in a good way. John here, you there, and Morning Coco. Yeah, it was a late night last night. And for those that had the chance to catch the broadcast of the Tuesday Morning Bam, it was it was an interesting evening. So MLS Next Pro After Dark happened last night, and Atlanta United 2. And we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. And as Jarrett said on the broadcast last night, you may as well just put the goal of the week nominee to bed. You may as well just do it because of what Nicholas Firmino did last night. And we will talk about that. We'll talk about all the news of the morning. And, yes, we will be talking about that contract offer. We will be back in the contract offer. Yeah, we'll be discussing Mbappe to the Saudi Pro. We will be discussing that. We'll be discussing World Cup. We will be discussing plenty. Trust me. There's going to be plenty to talk about. And so the way that it's looking is that hopefully we will be catching up with Luke Winstel and find out what's going on down in Australia. Morning, Jared.
What's so funny?
Just the weekend in general, and then ending with MLS Next Pro After Dark. It was just one of those weekends, you know?
It was a weekend. There have been many weekends, and this was.
That is absolutely true. Yeah, there was. Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, because Twitter lit up. So let's talk. We want to talk about it for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So, assuming most of y'all have seen the pictures I posted of the field at Kennesaw, just so we're clear, and I put this on last night, but in case some people didn't see it because I didn't get to it until after the game, Atlanta United doesn't run the field at Kennesaw.
Right. Kennesaw
State manages the field, and Atlanta United rents the field from them. Mm-hmm. Not only for Tuesday games, but for U.S. Open Cup.
Right.
The field is to be maintained. When you make that kind of agreement, you expect the field to be maintained to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kennesaw has done this before. What happened where, what happened where you had, kind of spotty turf on the edges, but generally they lay down that strip in the middle. John, I don't know. Speaking for me, it looked like it was mismeasured. Like someone ordered a carpet and didn't measure the room correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that. So that's a tease. And so we'll get into that coming up in just a sec because the Wi-Fi has officially cooperated.
Oh, man.
With Australia. And so that means one thing. It means that Luke Winstel is here with us this morning. Well, sorry, morning for us, bedtime for Luke. Morning, Luke.
Good morning. Good morning. Good evening. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
All points in between. You're the busier one than we are. We had MLS Next Pro After Dark last night. We were discussing that before you came on. So as a bit of a tease with what was going on with Atlanta United 2 and Kennesaw State University and football and how things shifted from there. But we're going to call that officially a tease. And so, Luke, Bam wants to know out of the blocks, have you just gotten home from Caxton Street?
Okay. So Caxton Street Hotel, I did get to go. It was the day before the England-Haiti game, and I went and I had like calamari and the whole thing, and it was like a fried fish and chips with calamari, and really enjoyed it. Vibes were good. We watched the Canada-Nigeria soccer game in there before our press conference that day. So 10 out of 10, great experience.
Okay. So what else has been going on with you and the Merry Band over the last couple of days since you were last with us, sir?
A few of the big things, we just officially got a release talking about that Football Australia is celebrating. They've sold over 1.5 million tickets total for this Women's World Cup event now. So that's the most for any FIFA women's event ever. So seeing that news come in right before we hopped on the show, but also looking into, for me on the Australia beat, what is going to happen without Sam Kerr? How is that going to look? What does it mean? So the story I'm working on, of course, gets into a lot of that. And that's consumed the majority of my schedule lately. I know right now we're getting into games. So we're about to have Australia play in Brisbane. We're about to have France and Brazil. And we just watched, and Molly's been covering the game and, of Brazil and everything. So it's been a lot going on.
Garrett Smith for Luke Winstel in Brisbane. Go for
it. So now that you're kind of settled in there, how has the atmosphere been among, and sorry, I was disconnected for a second there for John's first question. I apologize if he asked something along these lines. How has it been in terms of, the atmosphere in the street, not just in the stadium, but the day-to-day side when games aren't actively going on?
Yeah, when we first got down here to Sydney and Brisbane, we weren't seeing a lot. So I was saying, okay, when's it going to happen? Like, they had the first match, and that's when things started to heat up with, of course, the Fan Fest in Brisbane. You had Australia and Ireland in that first game, and that got pretty wild. And then after that, it's been building into the Matildas playing here. So now when you're going through, Fortitude Valley or downtown, you're seeing these big banners. And it's, FIFA, the home of the FIFA Women's World Cup, and the hashtags and the colors and the logos. So now we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of, I went to the laundromat earlier, and everywhere I looked, I was seeing signs with Ellie Carpenter and, Sam Kerr and all these Matildas players that are very marketable here. Mary Fowler was on a lot of apparel signs. So now you can't really go anywhere in Brisbane without seeing the influence of this tournament. So it's really heated up, and it's been building into what's going to happen on Thursday with Australia in Brisbane hosting Nigeria.
And at the same time, Luke, I think that when you look at the tournament on the whole, and it's safe to say that what we had anticipated coming in is that the world is closing in on itself. It's no longer just like 1 and 2 and then 31 and 32. You're seeing some results out of the blocks where the teams that you wouldn't sit there and go, well, they don't have a puncher's chance, or they might have a puncher's chance and nothing's going to happen, those kinds of things. You're seeing results that are kind of surprising, folks. You go back to the Canada result where Canada is offensively challenged to begin with. They end up with a draw. The French, good morning, good morning, France, after their first result. So the world right now, at least in the early stages, very, very packed with some surprise results too.
Yeah, and one thing I can speak for, seeing it in person, covering the game with Haiti and England and saying, okay, that was I want to say it's number 4 versus number 53 in the FIFA rankings for the women. And seeing Haiti come out, and I think that should have been a draw. You look at the penalty and having to re-kick the penalty after the goalie saved it on the Haiti side. Georgia Stanway won't be denied twice. And you take a look at, that could have easily been a point for Haiti. That could have been a jumping off point for the debutante. So looking at that's been very impressive. The more parity this game gets, the more we get into the tournament style that everyone loves about a thing like March Madness. And the closer you get to having that, you really believe anybody could beat anybody. It's a big next step that the tournament's beginning to take.
Go for it, Jared.
You talk about it taking that big next step of those clubs that, or those countries that, we think of as kind of being the underdog, Haiti included. Which one has impressed you the most from what you've seen?
Nigeria is the one that I've been really focused on because they're about to face Australia without Sam Kerr, and looking at the quickness they have, their ability to defend well against Canada, and kind of make it seem like on the Canadian side, like, where are the goals going to come from? What's this going to be? And Nigeria made us feel that. So we've named a bunch of teams and, looked into that. But Nigeria is the one that I say they're in the group of death. They're the team that's probably been counted out the most. So for them to have a point and have a chance for another point or 3 against Australia is the type of thing that I say that's the team that could make it out of the group of death if they have a good week this week. So that's the one that I'm focused on most. That would, be one of the things that really surprises me.
Yeah, I mean, Group B right now, obviously, Australia. For those that don't have their groups right there in front of them, it is Australia, Canada, Nigeria, and Ireland. And I admit that I'm cheating because of what I'm staring at here on my computer. But Australia, gets the 3 points out of the blocks. They get the 1-0 win over Ireland. Canada, Nigeria was the goalless draw. And so, you're looking at this group, and as you mentioned, next time out of the blocks, it is Canada and Ireland. And if Canada is supposed to make it out of Group B, they've got to get a result. And I mean more than just the 1 point. So it's not just stuck there when it comes to the tail end of match day 3, when it's do or die and figuring out your future. Exactly.
And the things with Group B, especially the conversations that we've had in this room, Taft isn't here right now, but
where is Taft? What is going on?
I think so. Taft is hanging out with a few of the people. I think he's headed down to the lobby, and I don't know what they've got planned or what they're thinking, but I'm sure it'll be good.
I don't think you want to know if it's 11-17 and Taft has not told you what's going on. I don't think you want to know, sir.
They're pretty good planners. They know all the good spots for the nightlife in Brisbane. They've found out better than I have. They're a little better at that than me.
They're probably celebrating the fact that Australia retained the Ashes because England can't play in their own weather.
Yeah.
These are the conversations that you get, Luke.
Hey, that's exactly what I'm here for. So when we're looking at, the group, some of the conversations we've had in this room is what happens if Australia does get the result in the 3 points and then they're moving on, and then against Canada, what if they decide to rest people? Because we had a player in the press conference today from Australia say, we really want to get this win, and then hopefully we can rest people down the line. So looking at that and saying, okay, if the 3 points are going to go to Canada, then this week's even more important, of figuring out, what that result's going to be with Canada for the group of who's that second team if Australia were to beat Nigeria. So those conversations, the what ifs, are sometimes as much fun as anything.
No doubt about it. Your results from earlier today, the 7:00 match ended just before we went on the air. Brazil 4-0 over Panama. Ari Borges is a name. If you do not follow the NWSL, Ari Borges is at Racing Louisville along with Savannah DeMello, and they're under contract until 2025. So keep an eye on Racing Louisville over the next couple of years. Brazil going in, no surprise, was a minus 5,000 in the juice boxes going up against Panama. Your 4:30 a.m. start, which was something that none of us on this show were watching. Germany put up 6 on Morocco at a minus 714. Yeah. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, our time, which would be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, your time, Italy over Argentina at a minus 161 with a 1-0 win. So Italy got it done over Argentina, but I think that everybody's looking at Brazil, Ari Borges, and wanting to win one for Marta. I think that that's what you're staring at right now for Brazil.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, like here in Brisbane, we've had the conversations of, we're going to get to see Marta play. Like people in this city, even though the Australians are not exactly Marta super fans, they understand the significance of that player playing in this city. So there's been some buzz about that. I've talked to Pete, some Uber drivers. I actually had a Portuguese Uber driver. So he said that was like the thing he's looked forward to for months. And yeah, so looking at some of those things, there's a little buzz about that. But looking at Brazil tonight analytically, the form that they're in right now, I know it's Panama, it's not the highest ranked team, but their form is so strong, the way they've built in through Copa America to where they are now. The star attacking, the unselfishness stood out tonight. So all across the board, that's one of the teams that I'm looking at least to be a semifinalist.
All right, Jarrett, go for it. What else is on your mind with Luke?
Yeah, and Bam brought this up and wanted to get your thoughts on of this potentially being an absolute merciless bloodbath between Canada and Ireland. Is of the teams who are kind of in a weird spot, is Canada, would Canada be the most disappointing to get out of the group given their current situation?
So would it be most disappointing if they did or if they
did not? They did not. Sorry.
If they did not? Yeah, they're one of those teams that's like top 10 team in the world, but the form they're in right now, I think even building into the tournament has not been particularly impressive. So to see a team with that kind of talent, of course, Christine Sinclair, the big name, but some players in their midfield that have really stepped it up and become star players and world-class types. It just doesn't seem like that team as of right now is on the page that they need to be on to make a deep run. And with the talent they have, the ranking that, shows the potential, I think they definitely are in line to be the disappointment of the tournament, and if they don't turn things around, because right now it's not impressed me. I don't know what you guys saw in the Nigeria-Canada game, but yeah, they're the team that I look at as they're the most in danger of those top tens, I would say.
I think you're spot on. I think that Canada getting the goose egg, and I mean it was a combination of a good save and a not so well taken penalty. So I guess if you can have both, porque no los dos. So this is what you're getting here with that particular play with 10 minutes to go with Canada, Nigeria. Christine Sinclair, you're thinking, okay, this is a slam dunk. And then it didn't seem like it was the most 100%, power up to 9,000 kind of a penalty that was taken by Sinclair, saved by Nigeria, goalless draw, and you're out the door. Once again, Bam, who is checking in. Bam is your new best friend, Luke. I mean, you and everybody down there, Bam is looking out for you. He says Canada and Ireland is going to be a bloodbath for 3 points. He's not wrong.
The thing that I look at in that match is Canada right now. Again, the question is where the goal is going to come from, because I'm not seeing players in the attack that are in the form that they need to be in. I think there's some similar things that can be said for Australia as well right now of, where is coming from? Like, we haven't seen great games from a couple of players so far, but then Ireland combined with that, I know everyone knows, McCabe and what they can do defensively, the way that they're able to jam up or try to play with, 3 center backs or whatever they might do. So that's a game where you combine Ireland's strength on defense with Canada's lack of form on offense right now. And you say, wow, that might be another, 1 point apiece and you go home. And that, to me, that feels like a 1-1 kind of thing. I don't know. It's just the feeling I get.
Jared, go for it.
And then, getting through for us locally, like we got a game coming up that I know maybe you're not, focusing as much because of what you're covering, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, your expectations for the next USA game.
Yeah, for USA, that was another one where we had a penalty kick. That's been a big storyline. It's, I think, 4 for 8 right now in the tournament in terms of penalty kick misses as a whole, and 2 of those run a second attempt. So just a funny note, a trend we've seen so far. But for the USA, of course, from Atlanta. So that's a team I've been watching, and I think, like everybody, I've been impressed by Smith and that group, and seeing some of the legends mix in, trying to pass the torch along. And right now, I think for USA, it's not a team that I've gotten to focus on a ton yet. So I'm just kind of enjoying these games as a fan.
All right, so then let me ask you about VAR, because VAR has been part and parcel of what we've seen early on. Let me ask this from 2 separate perspectives. From your interactions, when VAR has happened in the matches that you've seen, what you've thought about it, the interaction where you get to hear the conversation, you get to hear the decision from center ref over loudspeakers, involvement of VAR so far in matches, and then how it's being implemented and instituted. I guess it's a 2-part question for you about VAR.
Right. So I know, John, covering football, we're used to that kind of thing of the, offside, 5-yard penalty.
Right.
So in Australia, I've come across a couple of reporters here so far that are not familiar with that concept in a different context like we might be. So it's been funny to hear them react. They're like, I think this is a little weird. One of them said kind of unnerving was their reaction. I think it's cool. I think it's good because, not every fan is going to know what it means when the, referee's drawing the square in the air. Like, you need to bring the game to the fans, involve the fans, but also I think when you have that announcement, it gives you something to, rally around or cheer about. So I think with VAR, I don't like how much time it's taking away, because soccer to me is the game that is supposed to be no breaks, no commercials, no stops. But so far in this World Cup, it hasn't bothered me there yet. With the games I've seen, even in England, where we had 3 penalty reviews in the England-Haiti game. It was weird, but it didn't bother me. So I think right now my thoughts on it are positive. I'm saying I like this. I like the engagement. And I think it's off to, a good start here with the way they're approaching it through the tournament. So personally, it feels weird to say it, but I've actually enjoyed it.
He's used to it, Jarrett.
Luke
is used to the voices in his head in the stadium. But Bam has said While he was at Nigeria, Canada, the ref's mic was hard to hear in the stadium. So that to me, Jared, sounds like a production issue.
Yeah, that's a prod issue. That's somebody that's internal. You get down there before the game and start testing mics, and you have to do your job. And
Bar
make sure stuff
has
is
to work with
right.
the production elements. They have to figure out what's going on.
Use the same. You know what? Just use the same PA system we've been using for Jefferson Pilot Sports and noon and SEC games since time immemorial.
That was before Luke was born, sir. We have to kind of bring it into a
same microphone we were using for Kentucky Georgia games with a noon kickoff.
There you go. By the way, Bam is dropping hints about Taft's location. He says Taft is off for $5 lap dances in Fortitude Valley. Don't ask me how I know about them. So
I have to take a picture to send it to him.
All right, well, hang on. All right, there we go. Take your picture. There you go. There's your picture. So once again, our listeners, and watchers, give, never take. Always selfless individuals, making sure that they're looking out for your roommate who is not there doing his duty, hanging out with us in the segment. He decided, I'm going to go see what Brisbane's all about. Instead of discussing work, he wants to go at 11:30 at night. He wants to go and see what's going on in town. What is up with this young man?
Well, I'm not even sure. I just told you he's going down to the lobby. I don't know if they had plans forward from that or what the deal is. And, Taft is one that he knows how to find a good bar and to find a good spot. So I'm sure wherever he is, they've found a good location.
All right. So for those that have yet to no, Bam, you're going to have to read that one yourself. There's a limit. All right. So where can folks keep up with what's going on with the class there, with everybody down there from the University of Georgia, your 16 compatriots, the 3 teachers, the partridge in the pear tree, all of that stuff? How can they look and see all the effort that you guys are doing?
I think a good way to see the group as a whole would be on social media, generally like Twitter, Instagram. It's at Sports Media UGA, and they'll be posting and reposting all our stuff. So you'll come across it then. For me, I'm at Luke Winstel on social media, and I post stuff and try to retweet everybody else too, so we can all be supporting each other and working as a team. So those are good ways to find us. We're writing Zenderns for the Associated Press and getting some stories out and having a good time.
Yeah, no doubt about it, especially when your roommate is in the lobby of the hotel instead of doing a segment. So,
I don't know what he's up to. I have no clue.
It's 2 words: plausible deniability. That's what you're looking at here, Luke. Plausible deniability. That's what you're staring at. Obviously, you've got golden ticket status, and whenever you want to drop in, just text and sit there and say, "Hey, we got stuff going on." When do you think you'll be on with us next this week?
Good question. Depends on what you're looking for. We've got.
Doesn't matter. You and your buddies. It doesn't matter. The 9:05 to 9:30 is yours all week long. So I mean, literally Wednesday night for us. I guess it would be third. I don't know when it would be for you. Wednesday morning for us.
Technically Wednesday morning.
Yeah,
that's right. Because I'm the time traveler.
Yes.
So it would be Wednesday morning for you. That might be a good one for us. That'll be right before we get into the craziness of we've got Australia, Nigeria, and then Brazil and France right after. So
all right. So Wednesday night for you, Wednesday morning for us.
Yep.
We'll see you at 9:05, and we'll run through everything at Luke Winstel on the Twitters. And Luke is being gracious enough to be our wrangler down there for the Brisbane side of things in the Women's World Cup. Luke, as always, thank you, my friend, for hanging out with us. Plausible deniability. Remember those 2 words for the time that you still have there in Australia. Thanks for hanging out with us, my friend.
All right. Thank you for having me on. Have a good, almost said good night. Good morning.
Yeah, God.
There you go.
Thank you. Say good night, Luke.
All right.
Yes. See,
diplomatic community.
Diplomatic community. Well, we don't want him to be decaffeinated, so that's
it's just been revoked.
Yes, it has. All right, so back to opening kickoff, which was MLS Next Pro After Dark. You wanted to explain the situation with Kennesaw State with what was going on.
I wanted to try to explain how this worked. So okay. They've done this in the past. The field last year wasn't great, but it was playable. You just have these patches where they're. I think they change out the grass, and this is a question more for the people, the Golf Turf Management Society, or the Turf in General Management Society, more so than myself.
Ed Mangan.
Yeah, for the Ed Mangans of the world, those of you who know someone or who did go to ABAC down in Tifton, because Coco and I were talking about that last night a little bit. Like, they let the ABAC cows loose on the field. But so it looked to me, John, like they had put a strip down that is almost like they didn't. It's almost like somebody like measured once and cut once. You know what I mean? Because you have those strips of bare turf between the grass that it looked like it was just not measured out, and it wasn't wide enough, and they didn't have enough grass to go down on there. But the other problem being that, and I sent this through the Discord, and John, you pointed out to me in the first place, they shortened the field on all four sides by a good yard and a half at least.
Yep,
maybe more.
Yard and a half on the touch lines, and 2.5 from the end line. So as we say here in this part of the country, place got squozed.
Yeah, and so here's the thing about all of it is, because somebody asked me last night, how did you get this close to game time without an answer? Blah blah blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might because what I'm thinking is my assumption. I haven't been able to get to get an answer. I mean, we didn't really have time to talk to the team last night because our timeline is, y'all, we got to the stadium to do the game. We were going to be on 92.9. We got to the stadium to do everything. And then the refs start meeting. It turns out the refs have been on the phone with Pro for a while before this. Like when we'd heard when the ref got there, the ref saw the field and immediately called Pro.
Yeah.
Because Pro makes the final decision if a field is playable or not. The teams do not. So and I know people were waiting outside the stadium and were really upset because they were waiting outside the stadium. You're waiting on Pro to make the final call. I don't know why it took them until what? Like just 45 minutes to kick off?
Yeah, well, yeah, just before we went on the air with the pregame show.
Yeah, it's for my money from Pro, that's unacceptable. You should have looked at that field and said, nope. And you're waiting on Pro to make that final decision. Until they do, you kind of have, I know you went down and talked to Jack Collison. Jack had to operate like everything was still going to happen because you don't want to just stand around all day and then get told, okay, we're going to play on this minefield. And now you have to get ready. And it was kind of a weird situation without knowing. What I'm assuming is that Atlanta knew that there was going to be turf change like there was last year, but you were able to play on it. And what I'm assuming is they got there. They're not at the facility every day. They're at the training ground. I'm assuming they showed up, saw it, and went, "Oh no,
bruh."
Yeah. I'm assuming they didn't see it till that day, and then at that point, like we said, you can't just up and change it that quickly, and it's tough. There's a lot of variables that go into all of this. You can't just up and change it and decide, okay, well now hey, by the way, we're gonna change day of game. It's trickier than that, unfortunately. And you in that instance, once it gets to that point, now you need Pro to rule the field unplayable.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your options go, they ended up playing last night if you've been to Atlanta United's training ground, they played on the field that's right behind the building. That's right. It butts up against the training center itself.
Yeah.
So Jason, John, and I were on the balcony. But you also have the showcase field, which is where Jason's called games from there. I've shot games from there. We've all seen it. But they're changing the turf out there. So if you go look at it right now, is barren. Can't play there.
Nope.
Mercedes-Benz would have been an interesting option, yeah?
Yes.
Well, Mercedes-Benz has put down grass for the Premier League. Guess what? You're not allowed on it.
Yeah.
Yes, you, I'm talking to you, every one of you. None of us are allowed on that grass.
None of you people. None of you.
So you got in a really weird situation where your go-to backups were not available. And it was just a perfect storm of a bad surface. And yeah, I imagine the club is very upset about it because look, it makes them look bad.
Yeah,
they weren't able to play an MLS Next Pro game because the field was unplayable. And they rent the field from Kennesaw State for MLS Next Pro and for Open Cup. But you don't love that because it makes you look bad. And I'm sure that's going to be a conversation with Kennesaw about, look, we know that you're like changing out your turf to get ready for the football season, but you got to give us a playable surface as part of this contract. I don't know what those conversations are going to have been like, but I imagine that has to have been part of it.
Yep, and I imagine that going forward, there are probably going to be some conversations with the possibility of some elevated vocal ranges, but that's just me, especially with what went down yesterday. But at the end of 90 minutes, it was Jack Collison's 100th match as a manager, and it was a 2-1 lead at the break for Atlanta United 2 before they would eventually lose 4-2. We do have highlights, by the way. And things started out really well for Atlanta United 2. 7th minute, here is Luke Brennan getting on the board for Atlanta United 2, courtesy of our folks at the SDH Network.
Back to Firmino. Attacking half for Atlanta United 2. They lose possession. Ball from Firmino intended for Centeno. He's working to win it back and does. To Mimi. Cross. Luke Brennan goes up for it. Headed and in. Goal! 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 Atlanta United 2. Luke Brennan puts it away. His third of the year. Cross from Karim Tamimi. Brennan makes it 1-0. Atlanta United.
There you go. Atlanta United 2 up early in the 7th minute. Jarrett 1-0.
It's a great attacking sequence, but what really makes that go, and I get it, like it's behind closed doors. Abby, I'm glad y'all are getting tickets refunded. We didn't get a lot of information as the whole thing was going on. We were kind of learning it in the flow of time with everybody else.
Yes.
It sucked. But one of the amazing things about that sequence is the ball that's played down to Centeno. He loses possession, but Centeno immediately starts counter-pressing. It's a great sliding tackle from Centeno to win that ball back. Then it falls to Tamimi, and Luke Brennan has just been so dangerous the last few weeks. And right there, he gets on the back post and puts it away. And it's a great start to the game. And we should have known that it wasn't going to be that simple because MLS Next Pro After Dark. Yes. And this is something that I think Will would be able to speak on as well. But Huntsville has an ability to find a drunk game and stick with it. They've played in a few really chaotic and weird games this year.
Why, yes, they have, Don Pardo. I mean, it is they have put some numbers on the board that have been absolutely crazy. And let me see if I can find Huntsville City FC. I want to get some of their scores. And remember, this is a team that started their first 7 matches on the road this year because they were getting Joe Davis Stadium up to speed. And okay, so 2-2 draw, win in PK, get the extra point in PKs. 2-1, 2-2 draw, win 7-6 on PKs. Lose 1-0, lose 4-3, lose 1-0, go to PKs, beat Crown Legacy, lose to Red Bulls. 4-3 loss to NYCFC for their first match in June. Beat All Caps 4-2.
I'm pretty sure they blew like a 2 or 3 goal lead in that NYC game too. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yep. Then they go to York Lions Stadium, beat the Young Reds 2-1 north of the border. Beat Inter Miami 2. Everybody does, considering that TFC2 put 6 on them after. Actually, they put all 6 on them after a red card in the second half. So Inter Miami had a 1-0 lead against TFC at York and got a red card, gave up 6, lost 6-1. Huntsville beat Inter Miami 2-0, lost to Crew 1-0, draw with the Revs 5-4 in PKs, lost, put 6 on OCB, Then they lose to TFC at home, and then 4 last night. So they're not afraid to put up 3 or 4 in matches this season.
No, they're not. And and look, we talked about this on the broadcast that, like, look, this is Jack Collison that we know. Like, we know he's going to put his defenders on an island to get forward and be dangerous in the attack, and that's what happened. Insa, one of the center backs, was incredibly aggressive, especially in the second half, operating as a right center back and then a right back, and was basically living in the attacking half of the field. He was fantastic in the game, first of all. But there were times where, they were leaving their guys out on an island, and Atlanta tried to take advantage a couple times. They played Luke Brennan hard down the right-hand side, and it was a center back having to come over, a Cicerone having to come over to make a play and kind of save it. Because otherwise, Brennan's in on goal with 45 yards between him and the goalkeeper, and they're going to play with those chances. It's going to be risky, and that's how they're going to play, man.
Then before we got to intermission, as you will say in this highlight, I think you're 100% correct. So when the video gets out of this moment, I think you're right on. So here was goal number 2 for Atlanta United 2 in the first half last night for MLS Next Pro After Dark. Some guy named Nicholas Firmino again.
Conway and Morales both on the back of this stack, closest to us on the back post.
Nick Firmino has the option to go to goal, has runners on the back post. Huntsville set the line at the top of the 18. Firmino approaches, drives this into the upper 90. Goal, goal, goal. Nick Firmino, the magic man deep in the bag of tricks, puts it into the upper 90. No keeper's making that save. 2-1 in the 42nd.
I don't know what you want to. What do you want me to say?
I hope somebody had a phone out on that video because I need to see it again. We do have that one. We're going to get to see it again. Just get ready for it.
That is
because that is ridiculous. You'll probably hear me screaming over top of it. I don't care. That goal was insanity.
Well, close the goal of the week nominations, I guess.
Nick Firmino with a rocket.
Yes.
I hope y'all saw it. It was purty. It was very pretty. It was, and Jason, we talked after at halftime. She says, "Oh, I thought he was going to go for goal." I said, "I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was like because yeah, you had your big body stacked on the back post. I thought he might try and drop it on there and see if one of them could either put it directly on frame or get it across the face of goal. No, Nicholas Firmino went from distance from an. And again, I don't know what else you want me to say about him because he keeps putting up numbers, he keeps putting up amazing performances, and keeps making his team better. And ultimately, on the night, Atlanta United 2 doesn't get the job done. And second game where you've let a 2-1 lead slip away. This one is different than Orlando, but you want to close those games out. And now the kids have to learn how to do that.
Yes,
and that's going to be tough. And these are tough lessons you're having to learn. But in those moments, yeah, I'm fine to take a moment to celebrate. Good God, that was beautiful.
Yes, and so we will celebrate. I'm gonna do it this way. Figured I'd break out the long version because joining us from where?
I am in Sydney right now. Bondi Junction.
You're not on a plane in the middle seat anymore, surrounded by children?
Oh, man. So, yeah, the middle seat on a Trans-Pacific flight was not fantastic. And then I luckily wasn't next to children, but there was someone had children behind me, and they screamed the entire 5-hour flight from Fiji to Sydney. And we're screaming after the flight even, too. So, listen, I understand parenting is hard. I understand traveling with children is hard. Benadryl is great. That's all I'll say on the matter.
So, Bart, how has the trip been so far? How much of the women have you been able to see?
So that's been the legitimate problem is we haven't been able to watch too much. I did get to watch. I watched the South Africa-Sweden game literally up until the point that Sweden scored to win. We had to get on the plane at that point.
Of course you did.
Got to watch a little bit of the France-Jamaica match. And unfortunately missed all the fun today because this was the day for goal scoring, apparently.
Yes, it was. And Ari Borges, and I've made the public service announcement that both Ari Borges and Savannah DeMello are under contract at Racing Louisville till 2025.
Yeah, definitely showing out. I mean, we know that Brazil has a lot of NWSL talent on that team. Dabinia, Ari Borges, I mean, even Marta is still in NWSL, but they are incredibly talented. They're fun to watch. I'm sad I wasn't able to watch today. I'm hoping that I'll be able to watch a replay at some point. But we're probably going to the Colombia-South Korea match tomorrow at noon here in Sydney. So that'll be fun.
Otherwise, no. Let's see. So if it's noon for you, it's midnight for us. No, we're not on the air.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right. So wait, no, noon. Wait, sorry. No, 10 p.m. So it's so noon. Yeah, 10 p.m., 14 hours. It's like
it's 11:40. It's 11:46 for me right now.
All you people are confusing us when it comes to when you're on the air. We had Luke Winstel on bat and leadoff this morning.
Yes.
Once Wi-Fi cooperated in Brisbane, and now that you have made your way from Atlanta to LA to Fiji to Sydney, how many more left do you have?
So we're in Sydney for 2 days before we go Auckland and Wellington. So we'll do Auckland and Wellington because there's not a whole lot of direct flights to Wellington from what anywhere in the world. So
no kidding.
So very few to Auckland anywhere in the world, to be honest.
No doubt. So from the other observations, not just from the matches that you've been missing and catching updates on, the point that we were getting into with Luke, at least first and foremost, is that all the conversations that we've been having about the world closing in on itself when it comes to the talent pool for Women's World Cup, we've seen a couple of examples of so far.
Well, and I think, it's a good thing that the U.S. isn't beating teams 13-0. It's a good thing that, Germany beating Morocco 6-0 kind of is a shock factor now. Obviously, there are still haves and have-nots in the women's footballing world, but, it's fine that we're not putting up double digits, against teams that aren't as strong. It's good that these teams at this World Cup are performing well, and especially at this World Cup where you had a lot of new teams that, because of the expanded field, maybe wouldn't have made it in before. Obviously Panama not having the greatest showing, but even Costa Rica I thought did okay against Spain, and obviously Jamaica putting up a great fight against France. So CONCACAF doing okay. Don't talk to Canada right now; they need a little bit of space, but other than that, CONCACAF's been okay, and that's kind of the point. Is you have teams like Costa Rica and Panama who maybe wouldn't have been here beforehand, and now get that opportunity.
Jarrett for Bart in Sydney. Go for it.
Sorry, people are still asking me questions about Kennesaw State University. I'm still mad.
I have a question. They just don't have grass? Is that because I looked at the picture? It was.
So they changed out the playing surface. So they changed the grass type.
Okay.
I don't know enough about turf management to know the exact specifics, but they changed out the surface.
You're not a UGA grad.
I understand. No, but I actually was at one point in line to go play baseball at ABAC. Which is the other place you go to find your turf people in Tifton. However, but they changed out the surface, but it looks like they just mismeasured the strip of grass that goes down the center. But yeah, it was bad. Anyway, I can answer all the other questions you have about this later if you want, or now. I don't care. I'm not the one that just settled a plane from Fiji with children, so that's. You're the one who suffered here. It's like the universe went, we're going to send Bart to Fiji. That sounds nice. Oh, don't worry.
And then
we're going to make it count. Yeah. We're going to make him have to climb through razor wire to get there.
Yeah. Shout out to the Fijian people, though. They were great. Seriously, fantastically wonderful people.
That's good. Anyway,
Jarrett.
As far as the actual World Cup, we just talked to Luke as he was turning in for the night because time is an illusion. And for us, we're just waking up like I'm about to make a bagel. As far as the teams who have disappointed, because it's been kind of a weird World Cup, would you like to yell about Canada some more? Because I feel like that's a good thing we do as Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have seen this coming with that team. they did really well in the Olympics and haven't really been able to live up to that since. We can fully put that blame on the federation. I think most people are fine to do that. But that was a real disappointment. But I think more disappointing, it wasn't that they got a draw because, they controlled possession and took a lot of shots, and the Nigerian goalkeeper, who played well, but it wasn't like that was a defensively dominant performance from Nigeria, or like, they were just throwing bodies behind the ball and blocking shots left and right. Nigeria had every right to get a win out of that game as well. And I don't think this Nigeria team especially is as talented as we've seen other iterations of the Nigeria teams from the past, but Canada really is going to struggle. My friend Brett, who I'm traveling with, has them predicting that they're not making it out of the group. So we'll see if that comes true. If he does, I don't know what he wins, but I don't know, a pat on the back probably. I don't know.
A high and hearty handshake.
Yeah, not maple syrup. That's for sure.
No. It's been fun for those of us who like to root for Team Chaos to see the results. Waving at you, France.
That was a disappointment. But
once again, you've got the local interest of the Reggae Girls, Soleil Washington, who is a rising senior at Chambly High School.
Yeah,
putting in reps for the Reggae Girls. France high waving at you. Right now, and that was kind of what I was thinking about with the world closing in on itself. I guess my question is it more the debutantes and the ones that are 16 to 32 raising up their level, or is it, or is 1 through 8 or 1 through 16 kind of sitting there going, yeah, we're going to come in here? And
no, it's absolutely the former. Especially because you look at some of these teams, you look at Haiti, you look at Jamaica, you look at, we'll play them coming up soon, Portugal. They all have a player or two who really stand out. And if you can have a star player, that's going to help your team perform better in these games. I also think that just the general investment, and I know that's a tough word to talk about right now, but the intention and investment in women's soccer globally has helped, because there's more opportunities for these women to play professionally, or at least just get some sort of play. I know the Haitian team hasn't really had a whole lot of that at all, but you look at a lot of the Jamaican players, they have college and pro experience. And again, having a Bunny Shaw or a Duvernay or someone like that really, it at least makes the other team have to game plan a little bit for you, as opposed to in the past where it was just like, all right, we're going to go right down the middle, we're going to go over top, we're going to go through them, we're going to go around them, and nothing they're going to do is going to be able to stop us, and they don't have anything to worry about us or to worry us. So now that you have these teams that for the most part have star players, they're able to utilize that, and it's good. I don't think Vietnam had that, but Vietnam had the other part, which is they were all competently talented enough to play a defensive shell system that worked really well. They got a little lucky,
Well, you look at that, and so let me ask you about the U.S. women's national team. When it came to DEFCON 1 through 5, because the result was only what it was, and yes, I did just use air quotes. What was the feedback that you were getting? What were you having to discuss with folks after a match where the result and the margin was only what it was?
Yeah, I think the issue there is that we were talking about only what it was, 3-0. Looking at, we missed a bad penalty take by Alex Morgan. We created a ton of chances, which is more than we can say for a team like Spain that had a lot of shots in possession, but didn't really create a whole lot of good chances. So I think for the U.S., the thing that I am most concerned about is the focus and determination in front of goal, because that did seem to be lacking. There were a lot of shots that were skied, put wide, that you need to put at least on frame, because you were in good positions. But I think overall you look at that game and you go, okay, you didn't start probably your first choice lineup. You got a 2-0 lead at halftime. Could have been 3, could have even been 4. I think, again, Trinity Rodman probably should have earned a penalty in the first, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought that should have been a penalty. And that could have changed things significantly, but I don't really think, if you only won 3-0. Yeah, you only put the ball in the back of the net 3 times. That doesn't mean that you didn't have a whole lot of chances. And credit, again, to Vietnam for blocking a lot of shots. Their goalkeeper was great. Their goalkeeper influenced the game outside of just shot stopping. She was great coming off her line and commanding the area. So it's okay to say that the other team also played well. Again, people forget there's 2 teams playing these games.
What?
And the U.S. didn't play at 100%, but they didn't need to. Vietnam played as best as they possibly could and still got a 3-0 loss. So, the real important game anyway is Wednesday. Or Thursday here. What year is it?
Exactly.
That's the most important thing. You beat Netherlands, which I think you can. Then everything else it doesn't really matter. Obviously you need to beat Portugal, but even then it's like you beat Netherlands. You just need to draw against Portugal. You're good. So that game Thursday is really all that matters. We've seen the U.S. start slow in tournaments before, really specifically at 2015. I don't know if this was a slow start, but I do agree. People are concerned about only winning 3-0, and I think that's very naive to look at it that way because, as we talked about, John, the rest of the world is getting better. But catching up and getting better are 2 different things. They're getting better, and that's a good thing.
No doubt. Abby, does Haiti have 2 players from Georgia? I know that Derek Etienne's sister is on the roster.
Yeah, but I don't think that counts.
got the transitive property
Yeah.
of what it means.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that, Abby.
Yeah, I know. And I was doing the quick reference point,
Yeah.
trying to buzz through the roster and trying
I don't remember that because I know Jamaica has one, and obviously the U.S. has a couple.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anyone else. So
Yeah.
we'll have to look into that.
AS and the Guardian each have very, very detailed breakdowns.
Yeah.
By the way, the Guardian has a breakdown of every roster and every player. So if you're really looking for something to look at when it comes to the sport, every roster, every player, there's something that's there, whether they're talking about an unsung hero or versatility or what they're, they have little bio blasts on everyone who is appearing there, by the way.
Love that.
Very, very
All
good
right.
stuff. Yeah.
I got 2 minutes. So
yeah, you do, because it's midnight and you got to go
I
to
know.
bed, if not take a shower, as you said on social media. All right. So give me another travel story before you go in 2 minutes.
So Los Angeles Airport is poorly constructed. I understand they're going through some renovations right now, but the fact that there was no direct way to get from one terminal to another was insanely stupid. And it was really hard to navigate, especially because we had about a 10-hour layover in LA. So we were hoping to find our way to the ticketing counters because we had to check in through ticketing before Fiji. And we're like, okay, we'll go find it first. And then that took forever. Then the Fiji Airlines, because we're so far in advance of trying to check in, we couldn't get that. So by the time we wanted to make a decision about should we go leave and watch a movie or go get dinner or something outside of the airport, we didn't really have as much time as we would have wanted. We still did. We went and watched Mission Impossible. It was fine. It was a good movie. It was fun.
I'm not going to go watch it. It didn't fire me up, but yeah.
It was a good way to kill time and be entertained. That's for sure. I was very entertained. But LAX not a great airport.
Yes, and by the way, thank you for the intel that you did in the Fijian airport.
Yeah, dude, those uniforms are amazing. If you haven't seen the Fiji rugby uniforms, which by the way have different uniforms for the sevens and the full, I guess, rugby union league. I don't know. They've got the Flying Fijians and the Fiji Sevens, so very nice. We'll be stopping there on the way back, John. So
yes, you will.
I'll be communicating with you about that.
Yes, and now that you're on that part of the world, match day scarves, ferns jerseys. I'm going to owe you so much coffee.
We'll see what all is available, John. I'll continue to send you pictures.
And think of it like an XL or a double X in American sizes. So you're going to have to go up a couple of X's and see what it is. Go get your shower. Glad you've landed. I see walls behind you and a microwave oven and a sink, which is always good.
We're in an actual hotel, so this is nice.
Oh, you're in an actual hotel. Okay. So glad you're in an actual hotel. Glad you've made it. Glad you've landed on that side of the world. As always, you know that you can just reach out to us and sit there and go, bruh, I'm ready to talk. Because we got stuff to talk about. Go take your shower. Glad you landed.
Yeah, I'll be good. Have a great morning, day. What year is it? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, you may ask yourself. I have no idea. Get out of here.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Bart Keeler, Soccer for USPOD. So our entire first hour was Australia-based. How many shows can say that? Luke Winstel and his merry band from the University of Georgia and Bam giving him grief, and his roommate Taft Gant. They're in Brisbane. Bart landed in Sydney, made it to his hotel. So that is kind of how, for however long they're going to be there, that's how this first hour is going to go. Basically, they tell me that they're in a safe position to where they can talk, and we'll discuss Women's World Cup with them when they can hop in. It's been fun so far. Looking forward to continue those conversations. Bam is sitting there saying, night, Bam. As Bart goes to bed, so do you. So thanks for hanging out with us and being the lookout for Taft and Luke and everybody down there in Australia. Hopefully you and Bart can combine and catch up over the next couple of days. So be good. But Bam is also looking for the U.S. to finish second in the group. I don't know how much that's going to happen. But yes, Abby, I do have some homework assignments with Haiti and 2 players from Georgia. I've got to look that up. I'll see if AS or the Guardian has any info on that. But like I said, I did remember Derek Etienne's sister as a part of the conversation. So that's your first hour, guys, and it's been a fun first hour. So of course, what that means is that since hour number 1 is in the books. Time to read a promo. There we go. You hit it in between notes and you're waiting for the next stanza to kick in. SDH brought to you on a Reaction Monday over, under, or on par by our friends at Eliminize Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, we like that these days. A very green way of going about things to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either above us in the cupboard or below us underneath the sink, because when you reach below you under the sink or above you in the cupboard and you bring out that masking agent, you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. This masks the odor. It does not attack the problem all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing, one of 2 ways to come up with a price that is affordable for you, either by the cubic foot or parts per million. Offering results in 24 hours or less. For more information, you can go to the website, and this is where I grab my pen as a part of this process. Eliminize.com is the website, but do us a favor here at SDH. Go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, Eliminize.com/Atlanta. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Reaction Monday that spent hour number 1 in Australia. So what we are hoping is that, obviously with Luke, we know the time difference. So with Luke, we know it's 14 hours. With Bart, when he leaves Australia and goes to New Zealand, it'll be 16. So when Bart leaves Australia and goes to New Zealand, Bart will have taped content that we will probably end up running in the show for however long he has his stream of consciousness when he gets to New Zealand. While he's there in Australia, he'll be with us, hopefully, like in this 9:30 slot, so our first hour can be entirely Women's World Cup coverage, and we can rock and roll with all of that. 1:05 a.m. when you start. Goodness gracious. I thought you were going to bed, Bam. But it'll be, but like I said, I hope that Bam and Bart and his buddies can all hook up, and I'm hoping that also Bam and Luke and that group can pair up as well. I'm hoping that can happen so we can have the uniting of the continents there at the Women's World Cup. So really looking forward to that. as we go. That's hour number one. Hour number two, obviously we got something to talk about. I know that let me go back through the comments in the first hour. I know that Abby was warning folks, making sure that if they're going to Leagues Cup tomorrow, if you are heading to Leagues Cup tomorrow, I've been watching Weather Channel. It is traditionally what is off my left shoulder out of camera range. And looking at what's going on, it is excessive heat warnings going on right now in Miami-Dade, right in that particular section of the southeast corner of the state of Florida. So Abby is making sure that everybody knows that you've got to get hydrated. And it's not just like, I'm going to drink something and sit there and go, yeah, I'm hydrated. No, this is the sensible hydration. If anyone's in South Florida for the game tomorrow night, have fun, be safe, drink lots of fluids, not the dehydrating drinks like the ones I drink here on the show. It's very dangerous down there, according to Abby. Those are her words, dangerous. Hoping to get home to the cooler weather before game time tomorrow. So wishing it was in the mini stadium and fans could have come. So you got that. To be perfectly honest, don't know yet where the match with the twos will be on Friday. It'll be on the network. That much we do know. Kickoff at 7. Is it 7:30? Hang on, 7 or 7:30. I got to check this real quick. I got to figure out where we are here. July. Oh, sorry. So crew 7:30. So pregame will be at 7:15, and when we know where we're going to be, obviously we'll let you know. But yeah, 7:30. And remember, you've got Leagues Cup going on through all of this. We got Leagues Cup to talk about, too, so far with all the craziness that's happened so far. I mean, even the Sickos committee on Twitter has gotten into Leagues Cup. That's what we're getting into. So we've got Leagues Cup to talk about. So when we know where the twos are going to be, obviously we'll let you know. Pregame 15 minutes ahead of time. And kickoff at 7:30. So pregame 7:15, kickoff a little after 7:30, and we will have the twos and the crew on later this week. So we'll let you know what's going on. Ricky Ricardo, he hopes Jason can be on the show tomorrow because he want to know what he personally feels being able to call a game with Messi right in front of him. So that will definitely be interesting. So Bam is saying if the U.S. finish second, they'll play the first knockout game in Melbourne. Okay. Now, Michael, we spent basically it was deemed unplayable. The field at KSU, and it traditionally we know that KSU reseeds to get ready for football. It's a transition from Bermuda to Rye. I think that's what it is. It's either Rye to Bermuda, Bermuda to Rye. Both of those. Grasses are involved. I forget which the process is. I think it's Bermuda to Rye for football season. And it was just, it was deemed unplayable. And then, it also looked like they were trying to move the dimensions of the field in. But from what I understand, you're supposed to have a set dimension and you're not supposed to deviate from that set dimension also. But we were waiting for the longest time from a decision from Pro. And when we finally did get the decision, it was slightly before 7 o'clock. So we were aiming for an 8:30 kickoff, and it ended up being on the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And that was where we went to MLS Next Pro After Dark. And once again, thanks to everybody who was a part of the, finding the broadcast last night, whether you were in Huntsville as a Hunt City fan or an Atlanta United 2 fan. Glad that we were able to piece that together with about 7 minutes to spare before the kick and make sure that we could get the broadcast on the air. But thanks to everybody last night who listened and was a part of it and was making sure that that we could actually that we could be there and have a game with you. So it was fun last night to with all of the madness that was going on and all of that stuff. But no, it was fun last night. So thanks to all of you guys who were part of it last night, where we got to have the twos on the air on the network, and we got to have the match called and got it out there. And you can, if you missed the match for any of the matches that we've been a part of this season with the twos, you can always go back into the archive and listen to the matches. We played the two highlights of the two goals for Atlanta United 2 in the first half. Goal of the week, I'm sorry, it's Nicholas Firmino. Bottom line right there. And Luke Brennan just continues to have an engine that does not stop. But, yeah, Ricky, no doubt Leagues Cup had everything this weekend. Yeah, like I said, when the Sickos committee is right there with you, then that's a good thing. A submarine headbutt from Alan Polito. Yeah, David, no doubt. Soleil Washington, great to see her. And Bam, thank you for all of the smack talk that you've been giving Luke so far. By the way, the fact that we can give folks a case of the giggles while we're talking about things halfway around the world, it's been fun so far. Like I said, I'm scanning here from the first hour of comments, and Abby is currently sticking her feet in the ocean, otherwise known as the sauna of Fort Lauderdale. So, and yeah, Abby, I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever the time change just confuses me anyway, and especially when it's more than 12. So, really looking forward to that. When it comes to venues, I'm sure that if the blank, if Arthur Blank owner wanted to do something and wanted to help out in any institution someplace, I'm sure they could. Yeah, exactly, Emilio. Leagues Cup or World Cup, why can't you do both? Porque no los dos? Absolutely. Why can't we have both? Enjoy it all. That's the thing. Enjoy it all. Enjoy it all in its craziness. Enjoy it all in its growth. Absolutely, you can, and legitimately, it's like I had one TV on one thing and another device on the other, and it was all over that stuff. Thank you, Abby, Bermuda Dorai. I knew it was one of the two, but so that's where you're staring. But yeah, so it's been fun so far. It's definitely been fun so far with all of this stuff going on. But this morning. It's been fun, but let's get into things. And I know that we were talking about things in the timeline that were bordering insanity while we were sleeping. It has come to our attention that Kylian Mbappe. All right, here we go. And this is from Crafton and Sheldon at The Athletic. And their European football coverage is insane. And that's why I watch. So here's what Crafton and Sheldon are reporting when it comes to Kylian Mbappe and Al Hilal. We do have news in Major League Soccer. I want to get into that before we go this morning, so that we got stuff to talk about, juice boxes, all that TV. It's a crazy Monday. PSG have received a 300 million euro offer, 332 million US. And Ricky found the math. Basically, it's 22 euro a second if he takes the deal. 259 million pounds, 332 million dollars. And have been given permission. This is from Al Hilal, and have been given the Saudi Pro. PSG has given the Saudi Pro League club permission to talk to the forward. Mbappe's future was plunged into fresh doubt on Friday after the 24-year-old was left out of PSG's preseason tour and put up for sale. in the latest escalation of the contract saga. The French international has the option to extend his stay in Paris by a further year to 25, but with the clause expiring at the end of the month, PSG are preparing for the new season without him. Mbappe has long appeared intent on joining Real Madrid, who failed to sign him this summer. Once again, this is Crafton and Sheldon. Intended to stay for the entire season, for the upcoming season. PSG, in a letter written to the forward, asked Mbappe to clarify his position by July 15, but have claimed to have received no communication from Mbappe or his camp this week. They have subsequently deemed he's intent on joining Real on a free next year and are understood to be willing to bench him this season if he does not finalize a move to another club this summer. The French club, who insist they're confident in their legal position on the situation, have been expected to accept considerably less than the 180 million euro they spent to sign the player in 2017 if they sell him to a European rival. Athletic revealed in January Madrid have not ceased contact with Mbappe's entourage after their initial thwarted move. Al Hilal have already signed Ruben Neves, Kalidou Koulibaly, and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. The club, along with Al Ahly, Al Ittihad, and Al Nasser, where CR38 plays, are one of the four sides. Ahly, Ittihad, Nasser, and Al Hilal are the four sides who will now be controlled by the Saudi PIF as a part of that major shakeup now back in June. So right now, that's where we are with Kylian Mbappe. Basically, Al Hilal is like, you know what? We're cool with a year. The 260 million bid obviously dwarfs the 198, and that's in pounds. Fabrizio Romano reports there have been no discussions from the player's side. PSG remains convinced he's already agreed to join Real Madrid. Currently training with the Paris side's undesirables, according to TalkSport, after opting against triggering the second year of the contract extension. Al Hilal set a new league record with the £47 million purchase of Ruben Neves, closely followed by Milinkovic-Savic at 34. Spanish side have already signed Jude Bellingham for $88.5 million, fee rising to $114. So does PSG offload Kylian Mbappe for the year, for that year, just to sit there and say, what's going on? A lot of it, this is going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here. But yeah, Ricky did the math. Ricky found the math. 22 euro a second that he's out there. Transfer News Live. 700 million euro salary at Al Hilal for the one season. So basically what they're looking at is banking €1 billion to bring Kylian Mbappe over for a year, just to have him come and party for a year, and then he goes to Real Madrid. And my guess is what they're hoping is that if they bring Mbappe over, if they bring him over, that you sit there and go, hey, we really like you. We hope you like it here. We know you like Real Madrid. We'd like for you to stay. What can we do to make it worth your while? And the PIF / Al Hilal would be sitting there saying, hey, bro, what's it worth to you? What's it worth? We want you to be here, be an ambassador. We want you to help boost our league. Could you imagine CR38 and Mbappe and all these folks and who am I missing? Benzema, all these guys in this league with all of this money being thrown around. The 700 million euro salary at Al Hilal for the season. This is not the transfer fee. This is the salary that is alleged that would be given to Kylian Mbappe if he was to jump from PSG to the Saudi Pro League. 58.33 million euro a month. 13.33 million euro a week. Just under 2 million euro a day to come and hang out. Just under 80,000 euro an hour. So basically, if he plays a full 90-minute match, he's making about 120,000 euro. That's if he plays a full 90. If he only plays 60 minutes in a match, that 60 minutes, he's getting a check for almost 80,000 euro. 1,332 euro a minute, 22 euro a second. So that is what Al Hilal wants to do. They want to back up. They want to back up the truck and a couple of other trucks to Kylian Mbappe's house and go, hey, look, we'd really like for you to come by. It'd be great if you could. We'd love to see you. We would love to see you. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, going forward. Spurs chairman Daniel Levy's been told he must sell Harry Kane this summer if he cannot persuade him to sign a new contract. That's from our friends at the Telegraph. And so, of course, news of that ultimatum has put Manchester United back on alert over signing Harry Kane. That's from our friends at the Mirror. Bayern have already had 2 bids rejected, now preparing a third. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. According to our friends at Bild, Bayern are willing to offer Kane a long-term contract of 4 years, possibly 5. Chelsea have made an offer for Crystal Palace's Michael Olise. It's already agreement in principle with Les Bleus, according to our friends at RMC Sport. Manchester City also interested in signing Olise, who has a release clause of about 35 million euro. Chelsea running out of patience with Romelu Lukaku, as he's unwilling to move to Saudi Arabia and is waiting for a European club to sign him. That's from our friends at Gazzetta dello Sport. Maybe he should not have angered Megan Thee Stallion as he waits for the new deal. Fabinho's move from Liverpool to Al Ittihad is at risk of collapse, as the midfielder wants clarity on whether he can take his 2 French Bulldogs into Australia. This is from our friends at The Express. I'm not making this up. Having to do with his Bulldogs. Can his Bulldogs come with him? That's the big question, apparently, now that has this deal in the balance. I feel like I should have some kind of music that is playing behind just to make sure that everything is okay. And obviously, we're glad that Shaka Hislop, obviously, he was presenting a pre-Milan Real Madrid scary moment last night on the 4-letter. Glad he seems to be okay. So keep an eye on Fabinho and the French Bulldogs. He's desperate to go. Fabinho has 2 French Bulldogs, though it's unclear as to whether they will be permitted to make the move as well. Dangerous and aggressive dogs, in quotation marks, are banned from Saudi Arabia, with Rottweilers and Pit Bulls not permitted, though there are fears that Frenchies are grouped with the latter. In a document linked on Twitter, because legitimately the new symbol for what this particular social media platform is, I don't know. Bringing pets to Saudi Arabia was the label. States that dogs are only allowed to enter if they're going to be used for hunting, serve as a guard dog, or if they are seeing eye dogs for the blind. Given the photos, and this is once again from our friends at The Express. Given the photos of Fabinho's 2 furry friends being cradled in his arms, dressed in Christmas jumpers being shared online, the midfielder will be hoping that he does not need to convince Saudi officials that his dogs are to fend off intruders in his new home or hunt down their next meal. Until the 29-year-old's given a definitive answer on if he's able to move his entire family to Saudi Arabia, he will reportedly continue to stall signing his contract with Al Ittihad. Nuno Espirito Santo, well, that's your first problem. They have been one of the most busy outfits in Saudi Pro. Jota becoming one of their most recent signings, joining the club from Celtic. He would also pair up with N'Golo Kante and Karim Benzema, who also came as free agents. Although I would love to know where the offense is going to come from if it's Nuno Espirito Santo. That's just me. Like I said, thinking out loud. Our French book. I'm not saying it. No, it's just Ricky. I'm not saying that. Amelia, are French bulldogs really dangerous? The answer is no. And a lot of this legitimately is owner driven. I mean, I legitimately know owners of pit bulls, and those pit bulls are some of the nicest, sweetest, large puppy dogs you could ever have. And I mean this in the sense of they're 5, 6, 7 years old, and they are just their whole bodies wag when you come and see them. They don't jump, they don't growl, they don't try to take your arm off, anything like that. I know pit bulls that are some of the nicest, sweetest pit bulls that you could ever come across, and the pit bulls are about the size of my desk. So you see, Ropes has a sweet pitty. So it literally, I think, the misconceptions, and here we go with pets down here and puppies down here. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the owner and how the owner treats the animal. So you can't make, as apparently the Saudis are want to do in this case, make a blanket assessment about a pet. And I mean, there's a photo in the article in the Express where the Fabinho and I imagine it, and his wife are there with one's a French bull. I think both French bulldogs, and they look like it's like, where's my food? They don't care. But I think when you make a blanket statement, a blanket assessment about dogs, a lot of it is owner driven. How the owner treats the dog, regardless of size, is how that dog is going to behave. I mean, well, they can do support dogs, Abby, but you've got to convince them that they're there for support or emotion. So it's you have to convince them that they're not there to like hunt or something. Yeah, Ricky's like waiting on Tata to speak, but there's chatter. Messi and Busquets will start. That comes from Esteban Edul as of about 20 minutes ago. Esteban Edul, who is 163,000 followers in Buenos Aires, works with ESPN and Radio Continental. He is saying Messi will start tomorrow against Atlanta United. Busquets will also play from the start. Last practice of the team is over, and Tata is going to speak shortly. So one of the best things that we can do to help this process out is go to our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. And if you do not subscribe to Fanati's, you should. That is not a paid endorsement. I am, however, paying for Fanati's. But once again, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you get to see what's going on with our friends at TIC. So it's they are covering TIC right now is live. So you're looking at what they are saying. I'm trying to see what their lower third is. So it might end up being something akin to breaking news if we can figure it out here. Let's see. Now, Messi and Busquets headline against Atlanta United. So Te'ise is. It looks like Te'ise is saying that Messi and Busquets are headlining against Atlanta United. They are not saying so far whether or not they are starting. They're headlining. That's the lower third from our friends at Te'ise. Now, Messi and Busquets headlining against Atlanta United. What that means, we don't know. Are they starting? We don't know yet. We'll find out here coming up in just a bit. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as we run forward here this morning. So, once again, reporting from Esteban Edul that Esteban Edul is saying Messi will start tomorrow, Busquets will start tomorrow, waiting for Tata's post-practice comments and see what the official word is when it comes to all of this. Ben Jacobs on our Kylian Mbappe segment. PSG braced for the Saudi offer earlier this week. $300 million bid for a one-year deal, allowing Mbappe to join Real in 24, but Al Hilal will provide an option to extend in case Mbappe changes his mind. Mbappe currently not negotiating with Al Hilal, but now the Saudis have permission to talk. So we'll keep an eye out on that. So that's what we're staring at when it comes to Kylian Mbappe. But so Fabinho is waiting for a response as to whether or not he can bring his two French bulldogs into the country. French bulldogs, they're going to protect mommy and daddy and the family. They're not going to, they're not these ravaging individuals. So we'll see. Other news. Atalanta's Rasmus Højlund wants to complete a move to Manchester United by the end of the month, having already agreed to personal terms. It's from our friends at Team Talk. Wilfried Zaha, according to our friends at The Guardian, is going to leave Crystal Palace and join Galatasaray on a free. That is devastating news for Crystal Palace. They've been trying to keep Wilf Zaha. Once that contract is signed, now you've got to figure out what you're going to do for a talisman and a striker that's going to lead you in goals. Crystal Palace with Steve Parish wanted to pay £200,000 a week wages to keep Zaha. Apparently, that's not going to do it. So Wilfried Zaha, who has spent his entire career at Crystal Palace, looks like, according to The Guardian, headed to Galatasaray. Your Turkish update. From our sources from the contacts that we have in looking at following the situation for Lobjanidze and for Diego Rossi. Let me see if I can spell Lobjanidze correctly. It looked like Atlanta, allegedly, possibly, probably. And once again, this is from our source, Yagi Sabunchuolu. And we've followed him with all of this information. And this was yesterday afternoon. Atlanta United, like I said, Sabunchuolu has hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. So we'll go and check. See if there's any up-to-date information this morning. But yesterday, our friends at Sports Digital, Atlanta United made an offer of €1 million for Lobjanidze, who plays at Hatayspor. We've gone through the bio blast on Lobjanidze. Hatayspor asked for a transfer fee of 1.5. Negotiations are ongoing. So right now you're trying to figure out the difference in allegedly €500,000 in a transfer fee involving Lobjanidze and a move here to Atlanta. So we got to keep an eye on that. Diego Rossi update. was that Atlanta United is one of a few teams that are apparently looking into kicking the tires on Diego Rossi. So we'll see what's going on there. Yes, Hutch. The Saudis do know how to talk, and they're trying to talk a lot with Kylian Mbappe to see if he'll want to come out and hang out and play for a year and see if they can pay him a boatload more to play for more than a year and keep him from going to Real Madrid just quickly. Marco Silva rejected the £40 million proposal from Al Ahly, committed to Fulham. Chelsea have reopened talks with Saudi pro over Hakim Ziyech. Remember, there were discussions with physicals and examinations and things like that slowed things down initially. Chelsea wants to kick the tires on it again. Callum Hudson-Odoi close to being reunited with Saudi at Lazio. Fulham are trying to beat Lazio to the signing of Hudson-Odoi. Fulham also are willing to pay £7 million for Damari Gray as Everton look to cash in on the Jamaican winger. That's from the three-letter paper. $7 million for Damari Gray? Major League Soccer, hello. Fulham have rejected a £50 million bid for Paulinho. Fulham is pissing everybody off that's on their roster. I don't know if Paulinho is officially pissed off yet, but I mean, they pissed off their leading scorer, Mitrovic, continually trying to price him further up and up and up and up. And that was not going over well. West Ham confident of securing a deal to sign Edson Alvarez from Ajax for up to £40 million. Atletico Madrid have contacted PSG about signing Verratti, but Liverpool are interested. So Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is an alternative for Atletico Madrid. Gianluca Scamacca could join Roma if West Ham signed Divock Origi from AC Milan after negotiations with Chelsea over Armando Broja broke down. Did you follow that? Scamacca could go to Roma if West Ham bring in Origi, since the Broja negotiation isn't happening. So basically your movement is this. Scamacca, currently at West Ham, could go to Roma if West Ham get Origi from AC Milan to come in. So Origi inbound, if that happens, since they couldn't apparently come to terms with Broja, inbound Origi, outbound Scamacca. Keep an eye on that. After leaving Liverpool at the end of his deal, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is attracting interest from Saudi Arabia, Besiktas, and Brentford. Ousmane Dembele has turned down a 5-year deal worth £35 million a year from Al Nassr to stay at Barcelona, where he's got 1 year left on his deal. Borussia Dortmund is the preferred destination this summer for Sabitzer after being on loan at Manchester United from Bayern last year. A lot of talking this morning. English defender Taylor Moore closing in on a return to France with Valenciennes after being released by Bristol City. Everton and Atalanta are in talks with Almeria over a deal over El Bilal Toure. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Wolves are expected to sell Daniel Podence after the 27-year-old Portugal winger did not travel with the rest of the squad to their preseason camp in Portugal. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Nice planning a move for Leicester's Ricardo Pereira. Sorry, Knicks. And 2 clubs in Saudi Arabia are in talks over a deal with Manchester United for their defender, Eric Bailly. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo from the overnight. And Jason Burt is now claiming at the Telegraph the bidding war for Kylian Mbappe may tempt, or the bid from Al Hilal to PSG for Mbappe may tempt a Manchester United and Chelsea joining into the bidding war kind of a thing. So there's that. This is an interesting piece of news that's come out from our friends at the Telegraph. Headline: Club threatened with eviction if they sign convicted rapist David Goodwillie. Glasgow United have been warned by a council leader after playing the striker in a friendly last month. Striker was ruled to be a rapist in a civil case back in 2017. Moves to clubs in Scotland, England, and Australia have broken down previously amid strong opposition to his signing from supporters. Good Willie, 34, played for Glasgow United in a friendly last month. Club play their home games at Greenfield Park. Also train at Greenfield Football Center, which is owned by the council. The leader of the city council in Glasgow says, quote, however, in more than 12 years, he has never once shown any kind of contrition or remorse. Any club that signs him is making a very clear statement about its attitude to the safety of women and girls, both in sport and in its community. It would be an outrageous decision, wholly at odds with how community facilities like Greenfield should be run. I've asked officers to look at the council's agreement with Glasgow United and made it clear I'm ready for the city to walk away. Glasgow United play in the west of Scotland's 3rd division. It's the 9th tier. Last week, a spokesperson said the club met Good Willie recently. Quote, after listening to David meeting his young family and the rejection he's had from numerous clubs who pulled out of signing him after sponsors made threats to pull out, we thought he deserves a chance, they told BBC Scotland. All he wants is to be left in peace and be allowed to play the game he loves. We're a club who has a number of members with varying needs we look after in different ways, and we don't just turn people away, end quote. Second paragraph, I would just say good luck. All he wants to be is left in peace and be allowed to play the game he loves. I don't think that's quite how that would go. Good Willie and former Dundee United teammate David Robertson were ordered to pay £100,000 in damages back in 2017 after a judge ruled they raped a woman back in 2011. Neither player faced a criminal trial after prosecutors cited a lack of evidence. Abby is now passing DRVP and K. I imagine it's very, very pink. Hutch, all of a sudden 40 million pounds seems like chump change. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, Hutcho. Let's see. What other news do we have this morning? As we buzz through all of this stuff, and once again, if you dive into The Guardian like I do and legitimately show them as much support as you can because they do some fantastic work. Fantastic work. Transfer news, it looks like, once again, Fulham have agreed to buy Raul Jimenez from Wolves for around £5.5 million as they enter final talks with Al Hilal to sell Alexander Mitrovic. Mitrovic continued to push to join Al Hilal after Fulham rejected the first 2 bids. Fulham moved for Jimenez as they seek to replace him. Mitrovic had 14 goals in 24 appearances last year. Jimenez failed to find the net in 15, including 8 starts. Fulham also on course to sign a center back and have Southampton's Mohamed Salisu as an option to if talks to buy Calvin Bassi from Ajax fall through. Tosin Adarabioyo is expected to leave with Monaco among the clubs keen on the defender. We talked about Callum Hudson-Odoi. Fulham reopened talks to sell Mitrovic days after Tony Khan said the club were definitely committed to keeping our top stars and doing what it'll take in the face of Saudi Arabia's efforts to sign players. So that's your look at what's going on in the transfer window. Man, Fabinho and the puppies. That is going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Definitely have to keep an eye on that. Villa signed Moussa Diaby in a club record £51.9 million deal. Fulham looked like if they want to get Calvin Bassi from Ajax, it would be for 18. And West Ham step up their chase for James Ward-Prowse. Livramento was close to a Newcastle deal before the weekend started. So there's a lot going on a Monday, I'll tell you that right now. Sad news out of England. Trevor Francis, Britain's first ever £1 million player, passed away at the age of 69. Transferred in Britain, the first one ever to do so for £1 million. Distinguished career, Birmingham City, debut at 16, Forest, Manchester City, Sampdoria, Atalanta, Rangers. And those of us here of a certain vintage remember him playing for the Detroit Express in the North American Soccer League version 1.0. And Forest under Brian Clough paid more than £1 million to buy him from Birmingham in February of 1979. Goal against Malmo secured European Cup in his first season, part of the squad that retained the trophy a year later, although he was injured in the final. So Trevor Francis passing away at the age of 69 this morning. Let's see if there's anything else going on in a sense of transfers and things? It doesn't look like it. I think we're caught up, at least for this moment, in transfers. Let's see what to watch today. And we'll get into stuff in Major League Soccer coming up in just a little bit because there is news. And we can talk about Leagues Cup as well. Italy and Argentina, the 3 of the 4 matches that are Women's World Cup matches, they're in the barn. Colombia, South Korea is at 10 o'clock tonight on FS1. Telemundo and Universo are your partners on the Spanish-speaking side. Universo has Colombia, South Korea tonight at 10. Next Pro, Crew 2, Union 2 is at 7 o'clock on Season Pass. The MLS Next Pro Invitational, 10 o'clock tonight, Real Monarchs and Hoffenheim's U23s. Paramount Plus has both the Argentine Primera and the Brazilian Brasileiro that have started already this morning. Argentine Primera kicks off at 2:30 on Paramount Plus. Aldo Civi River Plate. 3:30 to Talleres Cordoba. Gimnasia La Plata. Vélez Sarsfield is on at 3:30 against Unión Santa Fe. Gimnasia La Plata and Lanús is at 5. Bonfield Godoy Cruz is at 6. Racing Club Central Cordoba is at 6:30. Boca Juniors Estudiantes is at 7:30. Brasileiro, 5 matches. 10 o'clock at the half of Avaí and Flamengo. Palmeiras Internacional at 3. Atletico Mineiro Corinthians at 5. Coritiba Fluminense at 6, along with Fortaleza and Santos. Peacock also has coverage of the Women's World Cup at 10 o'clock. Colombia and South Korea. So that's your activity for your Monday in what to watch. A couple of things in Major League Soccer that I wanted to get into. We can start with what happened over the weekend in Leagues Cup. Now, like I said, when the Sickos Committee is already getting in on the action and doing all of the tweeting that they've been doing, watching what we've been seeing so far. Friday, very, very busy day in Leagues Cup. Inter Miami won against Cruz Azul. For those of us who were at Wild Heaven West End, we got to see the Hollywood ending. And I don't know how far Hollywood, Florida is from Fort Lauderdale, but you got your Hollywood ending with the Messi free kick from 22-23 for the last kick of the game. 2-1 Miami. So Miami's got the early lead in the group. Miami hosting Atlanta United tomorrow at DRVP&K. Orlando and Houston went to penalties. Orlando got the extra point, winning 5-4. Mazatlan, who is not doing well so far in Liga MX, in the Apertura, they knocked off Austin by the score of 3-1. And we went into where the teams are that are currently active in the Leagues Cup. Mazatlan, by the way, in their first 3 matches, 0-2-1. 0-2-1 in their first 3. They're 15th in the table in the Apertura. They beat Austin by the score of 3-1. Dallas and Charlotte, 2-2 after 90. Charlotte won at 4-1 in PKs. And then the absolutely nuts one, and what I'll do tomorrow is I will bring in the highlights of the latter action of this one. Leon and Vancouver, they go to penalties. Leon's 11th right now. They're just below the playoff bar if things started today, if the playoffs started today, Leon would be 11th. They would be the team just out of the playoffs. 1-0-2 in their first 3 matches in the Apertura. So Leon and Vancouver, 2-2 after 90 minutes. They go to PKs to determine who gets the extra point. They go 19 frames. 19. You had people kicking twice. Ryan Gall, you basically, literally, you want to start your order again? You can. But they go 19 frames in the penalties. Leon won 16-15. Yeah, Ricky, we're getting into that. DC United, we're getting into that in a second. 16-15 in 19 frames worth of penalties. We'll play the end of the match for you when we can find it. We'll bring it up tomorrow. but it's ridiculous. 19 frames in the penalties. You want sicko? You got sicko. And the thing is, both teams missed in their first 2 rounds. They missed in rounds 1, 2, and 6. And went until frame 19 before they missed again. 16-15 in penalties. Leon got the extra point. Montreal and Pumas went nuts. They got 2-2. Montreal won in PKs 4-2. Red Bulls in New England, a goalless draw. Red Bulls won in PKs. Philadelphia Union. Rich is happy about this one, knocking off Tijuana 3-1. RSL shuts out Seattle 3-0 at RSL. I know a lot of folks, and we'll talk to Nico about it on Thursday, discussing what's going on with Seattle right now. Portland shuts out San Jose by the score of 2-0 at Providence Park. Atlas got the goal, knocked off NYC at Citi Field on Sunday, 1-0. At TQL yesterday, Cincinnati and Kansas City, 3-3 after 90 minutes. Acosta scores in a PK at 90+8 to take it to more PKs. Cincinnati won in the PKs by the final of 4-2. So FC Cincinnati got the extra point. So you had an OG on each side that had it at 2-1 at the half. Brandon Vasquez scored in the 56th. Alan Polito with the headbutt that we were talking about in the Twitch pitch. That sent Alan Polito away for the following match. So Polito gets a red card in the 30th. Cincinnati scores in the 56th, and then again at a PK at 90+8. Go to PKs. Cincinnati wins at 4-2. So obviously Alan Polito will not be around for the second match. Nashville beat Colorado 2-1. Everybody's beating Colorado. Minnesota blew out Puebla. Longwane scored in the 20s, and it was on from there. So Minnesota beats Puebla by the final of 4-0. And then late night, because this one started, you thought the weather was bad. You thought weather was bad around the country. St. Louis and Columbus was supposed to be a 7:30 start. It was not. They had to wait a long time, had to wait over 2 hours, I think, before they got started. And Columbus beat all caps 2-1 at lower.com. So that put an end to your week in Leagues Cup. But there's news with 2 teams that I wanted to get into before we go this morning. And it is DC United. We got to talk about DC United, and we got to talk about what's going on in Cincinnati as well. So see if we can get it into a 10-minute time frame with what's going on. So Stephen Goff of the Washington Post. We will reference Stephen Goff with his article. First off, now it's telling me that I'm going to have to sign in. Come on now. I guess we'll have to do it this way. It's like I have a subscription to the Washington Post, and you're like, it's like, I am trying to read what's going on at the Washington Post, and it's not agreeing with me. So it's going to take another couple of minutes. But we're going to go over what happened with DC United, because it's stuff that we need to know about. And if you don't know about it, then all right. So this is from Bailey Johnson and Stephen Goff. And this is from Saturday night. MLS opened an investigation of an incident involving 2 DC United players in the locker room following the team's July 15 match at New England. 4 people familiar with the situation said Saturday. Without providing details, MLS and United announced late Friday night, and this is what happens when we don't have a Saturday morning show, announced late Friday night that forwards Taxi Funtas and Nigel Roberta had been placed on administrative leave as MLS investigated possible violations of league policy, in quotation marks. United said it immediately reported the matter to the league office. Until the review is complete, the players are unavailable for team activities. DC and MLS officials declined to comment. According to two people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the probe is ongoing, Fontas became angry about Roberta's performance during the second half of the team's 4-0 defeat at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. The two exchanged words on the field before the issue escalated in the locker room. One person said Roberta struck Funtas with a foam roller, which is used for flexibility purposes. Funtas then berated his teammate with expletives, two people said. Roberta, who is black, accused Funtas, who is white, of using a racial slur, two people said. The Athletic first reported the details of the confrontation. This is not the first time that Funtas has faced such an MLS investigation. In September, Funtas allegedly used a racial slur in a game against Inter Miami. The incident was investigated by MLS, which ruled the allegation was credible, but could not be independently verified, resulting in Funtas not facing additional discipline. The league said it reviewed audio recordings and video footage and interviewed several people, but could not determine what Funtas, quote, said in that moment, end quote. Funtas denied the allegation, but did not play in United's final 2 games after being granted an additional time off by coach Wayne Rooney. After missing the beginning of the 23 season with a hamstring injury, Funtas is United's second leading goal scorer with 6 goals. Earlier Friday, United fired athletic trainer Reed Whitney for displaying a, quote, discriminatory hand gesture, end quote. The OK sign, which has increasingly been adopted by white supremacists on the far right, in a staff photo taken at an MLS All-Star Game training session back on Tuesday. Side note from Johnson, United's finalizing a deal to acquire Panamanian left back Eric Davis, 32, coming off his performance for the Gold Cup. So Reed Whitney fired, and now Funtas and Roberta on administrative leave for DC United. Now, the other situation might have flown below the radar on Saturday. And it comes from Cincinnati. I'm going to try to piece this together because it's interesting. It's an interesting one that we've got to, and it came on, for those of you that follow along, it's on Pat Brennan's Twitter account. And let me see how I can piece this together here once again. That wasn't a story that was printed in the Inquirer, so you can't go and chase copy there. But P. Brennan ENQ on Twitter. So let me do this. So here is Pat's Twitter account, and I'm posting it in the Twitch pitch. So the conversation that was started, and this was before the match with Cincinnati, and this was stuff that came out from Pat on Saturday afternoon. And I'm having to go back into his timeline after the severe weather. And I've got to go back 2 days because it was something that was very, very interesting that Brennan posted about one of the players and about conversation that was disclosed. Okay, so here we go. All right. This is going back into Pat's timeline about a day ago. Santiago Arias is in Colombia getting his P1 visa. He had been here on a visitor's visa like Yerson, Both players entered the team mid-preseason, and the club didn't want to send either back for weeks at a crucial point in their integration to the team. So, that info provided by Chris Albright, who wanted to get out in front of the conversation, asked if they've ever considered knocking out a P1 visa up front, and the timing just didn't work in the preseason, trying to get Yerson in, Santi being in very good shape, etc. Albright said it was case by case. And I'm going to try to reach out to Pat and have him either on the show or explain what's going on. Because if you're here in the country on a visitor's visa, and I want to get this wording correct from the State Department, visitor's visa requirements, like what you can do and what you can't. The State Department is loading with their information. So, in Section 3, there is a link. Here's what I'm looking at for those of you who, thank you, Q. We appreciate it. Thanks for the love. This is where I'm referencing my material. Travel.state.gov. I'm in the State Department website right now. Travel purposes not permitted on visitor visas. This is from the State Department. There are some examples of activities that require different categories of visas and cannot be done while on a visitor visa. 1, study. 2, employment. 3, paid performances or any professional performance before a paying audience. 4, arrival as a crew member on a ship or aircraft. 5, work as foreign press in radio, film, print journalism, or other information media. 6, permanent residence in the United States. So, if Santiago Arias, according to Pat Brennan, was here on a visitor's visa, and like I said, there may be information that I'm missing. I don't know. I've got to probably have Pat on the show to ask. Travel purposes not permitted on a visitor's visa. Number 2 is employment, or paid performances or any professional performance before a paying audience. Now, Santiago Arias is back in Colombia getting his P1 visa. Remember, in the case of Yorgos Giacomakis, he had to go to Toronto to get everything squared away with his P1 visa before he could play and start. Now, remember, Arias has been a part of 16 points positive results with FC Cincinnati. Major League Soccer is the main entity, if I'm not mistaken, that is in charge of securing visas, work permits, all these kinds of things. So why is Santiago Arias, after playing in 18 matches for FC Cincinnati, now back in Colombia getting his P1 visa? When in every instance, like I said, there may be pieces of information here that we may be missing. But why was Arias allowed to either go through Section 2 or Section 3? Travel purposes not permitted on visitor visas, employment or paid performances or any professional performance before a paying audience. Why was this allowed for 18 matches? And where did this process develop its untimely resolution, I guess is probably the best way to phrase it. So something to keep an eye on here with FC Cincinnati and Santiago Arias. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Like I said, there's probably information here that we don't have, but great work by Pat Brennan to get this information out there for FC Cincinnati and get reaction from Chris Albright. So, like I said, just something to keep an eye on for future reference while Santiago Arias is back in Colombia getting his P1 visa. That's a busy day. Thanks to all of you folks who put up with MLS Next Pro After Dark. Thanks to all of you for the kind words that you said yesterday while we were putting the game on the air. And very busy day when it comes to all of the transfer stuff, all of the activity that's going on. There's a reason that they're Reaction Mondays, because there's a lot going on. So thanks for today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Looks like Luke Winstel and the Merry Band will be back on Wednesday. Bart, as he's traversing that part of the Southern Hemisphere, will be back on later in the week as well. Traffic for the week. It looks like, excuse me, it looks like Tuesday will be normal, but remember, you're going to have your NPSL shows coming up later in the week. Apotheos made it to the national semifinals after going through the South region down in Naples, Florida this weekend. So they are the South region champ for this year. They get to go up against Westchester United in Westchester this weekend as a part of the Final Four in the NPSL. The other two teams are Tulsa Athletic and Crossfire Red. Crossfire Red making another run deep into the playoffs in the NPSL. Indy 11, the girls in blue, they are your USLW champ, knocking off North Carolina Courage's U23s, winning that match. And the highlights are up on the Indy 11 Twitter account. Great piece that was put together by them. Greg Rakestraw got to call the championship game, friend of the show, and really cool stuff. So congrats to Indy 11 for making for being USLW champions, following in South Georgia Tormenta's footsteps after 50% more teams are now in the USLW this year, after going from 40 plus to north of 60. Congrats to Indy 11 winning the USLW title. Playoffs continue in USL League 2. The Villages have made their way through, knocking off our friends at Asheville City. So as we go through the league, we will obviously go through the week. We'll let you know what's going on there. And quickly, let's go through the playoffs and see what happened on the weekend. So the road to the final, it was Ocean City winner, Ballard winner, Ventura County winner over San Francisco Glens. Lionsbridge, our friends at Lionsbridge got the win, 3-1 over North Carolina Fusion. Little Rock Rangers make their way through, 2-0 winners over Texas United. Des Moines Menace and Lagos Kunga got the win, 3-2 in AET over the Thunder Bay Chill. So we are now in the round of 8 in USL League 2. Ballard FC, Ocean City, Ventura County, Chicago City loses to Flint City Bucks. So Flint City makes their way through. Lionsbridge goes through. Villages go through. Des Moines Menace go through. And Little Rock Rangers go through. So that's your final 8 in the conference semifinals. And so that's where we are with that. And we'll obviously have that coverage. We'll have your USL coverage as well. USL League 2, USL League 1, USL Championship, NPSL. We'll have all of that stuff coming through the week. It'll be a very, very busy week, plus our coverage down in Australia. And once again, thanks to Luke Winstel. And yes, it is a match day tomorrow. And we'll see if Messi and Busquets start. We'll see what the mind of Tata Martino has. So, yeah, there's a match day tomorrow. So, Leagues Cup involving Atlanta United in Fort Lauderdale against Inter Messi CF. We'll see what happens there. The team is practicing. The team has practiced, and I think they're gearing up to fly down now as we speak. I think they have a 2 o'clock flight to head down to Fort Lauderdale to get ready for the match tomorrow. Messi and Busquets, do they start? Leaning that way. We'll see what happens. Hutch, that's why they play him. That's why we play. And the biggest thing, I think legitimately it's going to come down to match day 3 or match day 2 with the match this weekend against Cruz Azul. So very, very busy week. We got the Premier League that's going to be here in the midweek. We've got Cruz Azul coming here on Saturday, and Leagues Cup 17s are going to need you to get into the knockouts. Need you to get into the knockout stage. So that's probably the way it's going to shape up with Inter Miami, Atlanta United, and Cruz Azul in their group. So pressers tomorrow with the Premier League folks tomorrow night. Hopefully we can have some of that turned for you for Wednesday, doubleheader Wednesday, Leagues Cup tomorrow, in addition to the press conferences going on simultaneously, Leagues Cup on Saturday. It's all over the place, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Sorry we went into a little bit of extra time this morning, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know I can't either. I can't play midfield either, Emilio, but keep an eye on your sources. Once again, remember, we have a little over a week left in the window. When it comes to sources and everything that you've got locked down, check your sources. Check your sources. Check your sources. Look for your tier A's, how many followers they have, and how it all lines up when it comes to who Atlanta United could be chasing after and what the machinations for the roster could be after the 2nd of August. So we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. So a little bit more in a week, and we'll see how things are with Atlanta United, and especially with your Turkish sources. Some are looking at Lobjanidze, some are looking at Diego Rossi. Look at your numbers, look at your sources, and see what's going on for anybody and all your favorite teams. So after about signing off for about 3 different times, we're really going to sign off now. Once again, keep an eye on all your platforms, set your notifications. Thanks for yesterday. Thanks for today. Thanks for every single day. Thanks for all you guys are with the Twitch pitch. And hopefully your pick'ems in the Discord are going pretty well. So for everybody here, thanks to Luke Winstel. Thanks to Bart joining us from Brisbane and Sydney. Thanks to Jarrett. Thanks to you. We'll do it all again tomorrow. So 9:05, we'll be back at it again. And we'll talk about this sport and everything else going on around it. And Kylian Mbappe, man, to get that kind of money. Let's see if he takes it. More details tomorrow. We'll be back at it again. So since it is the end of the show, that means that I get to do this. Mucha plata, y'all play it safe. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. Take your breath. Enjoy your day.